changes are going to be made right after the show. And it's going to bring you closer to God, because we just know that that's what life is intended for all of us to do, is to draw closer to God. Jerry, this is an important topic.
Yeah, we're going to talk today about stress-related illness or illnesses. And we would love to have your takes on just this idea, this notion in general. Do you think that stress, when we're under a lot of pressure in the family, in the home, at work, with things going on in our lives, that it can actually affect us physically? Debbie's going to talk a little bit about this. Debbie's got a lot of background in understanding things of this nature, health and the human body and so forth. But what about you? Maybe you've experienced something before where you just got sick in some way. Really, somehow some illness came on and there was really no diagnosis, no explanation, no diagnosis, and then you did an examination of your life and you realized, man, I've just been under the gun at work or in the home or to pay the bills or something. So what is this relationship? That's what we're going to talk about.
It's stress-related illnesses. If you have a stress in your life, it's really constant. You have different stressors in your life. They may not be damaging. They actually can, in some ways, be a warning sign and help us. But we want to talk about stress, this undue amount of stress on us and what it does to our bodies, what it does to our emotional health, our psychological health, our physical being. And it's important for us to discuss it, because and believe me, I'm not a medical expert by any means. Unfortunately, I am, I guess you would call, a still living example of this. So I've learned a lot about it, and it's interesting how this plays a spiritual kind of component to it, and it's important for us to discuss it. So if you have stress in your life and it's starting to take a toll on you, or if you have an idea about what stress means, call in and share your take. What you say can really help another soul and advance another soul closer to God. And that is the name of the game. That's what we want to do here on Take Two. 1-800-585-9396. Join the conversation.
Yeah, and the reality of it is, ultimately speaking, God does not want us to be stressed out about anything. The Bible talks how much about trusting in the Lord in all things. With God, all things are possible. Jesus says, do not be anxious. Be not afraid. Debbie, this is the challenge for us, though, is to learn to trust and surrender. And being human beings with the makeup that we have, I think we just sort of take on ourselves the responsibility of things that we should ultimately leave up to God sometimes.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let me just kind of paint this scenario for you and see if this is you, or maybe this has happened to somebody you love or somebody you know, and then call in and share about this. Okay? So you have these stressors that are happening in your life, maybe a work-related stress, something going on at home, a relationship issue, something of that nature, and financial stress, whatever it is, whatever the stressors are. And it just starts to just mount inside of your daily life. And you wake up in the morning and you're just a little bit more tired than the day before. And then, so what happens? Maybe you start going, well, I don't really want to go to the gym today for 30 minutes. I'm too tired. Can't do it. No, I'll let that go. Maybe I'll have that extra piece of dessert tonight, because that would feel good. That would feel good for that moment.
Calms me, relaxes me.
Relaxes me.
Comfort
right.
food.
Comfort food, exactly. Or maybe I'll watch a little extra TV tonight, because when I can just zone out in front of the TV set, I can forget all my troubles. And this happens on a day-to-day basis. And it's slow. It can be slow. And it just keeps mounting and keeps mounting. Before you know it, you look at your life and you're tired all the time. Maybe you've gained 10 to 15 pounds. Your prayer life has gone out the window. You've kind of just made all these wrong choices. And it just seems like, wow, I'm never going to get out of this. I'm never going to dig my way out of this. If that has somewhat even partially happened to you, call in and share with us. Now, we're not talking about medical issues that play into this. We're not talking about really significant, strong medical situations. We're talking about day-to-day life where the stressors keep adding up, and before you know it, you're just covered in stress. If that's happened to you, call in. Here go the phone lines. See, it's good that I'm not alone, Jerry. 1-800-585-9396. And what I mean by that is I've actually lived through it, so I know.
Really? You too?
See, we're all not alone. That's great.
Well, and something else we would love for you to share with your fellow listeners and with me and Debbie. We can all learn from you if you have kind of caught yourself getting into a really kind of a stress spiral, as I would want to call it. And you said, nope, you know what? I'm not going to let this happen. I'm going to make changes in my life. I'm going to be healthier. So maybe you have turned another corner when you saw this was starting to happen to you, and you could share how it changed your life for the better. Right. Debbie, this is how we learn. This is really the outcome that we want from a conversation like this.
We do. We want everyone to leave here just a little bit changed. That's the idea behind Take Two. If you're listening to Take Two and you don't walk away and say, well, my goodness, that was just a waste of a conversation, then that's not the hope of the show. The hope of the show is that when you leave this hour, you're thinking to yourself, wow, that really inspired me to make some changes. I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that to get closer to God. That's the ticket. There's that beautiful music. We're going to just take a little pause. So hold your breath. We'll be right back.
Divine Intimacy Radio.
What we're going to be doing in the coming weeks, in the coming months, I'm very excited to begin studying the writings of Teresa of Avila. We're going to be going through a book called 30 Days with Teresa of Avila. This isn't a book study show, so we're not going to be reading the text necessarily, and line by line going through that. That'd be a little strange for radio. But what we will be doing is reflecting on the wisdom from her letters.
Divine Intimacy Radio, Sunday, 6:30 a.m., 1:30 p.m., and 11 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
May is dedicated to our Blessed Mother. Visit EWTN's Facebook page to see the many ways EWTN viewers and listeners around the world are celebrating Mary's Month. #MayAltar.
If you're currently an EWTN media missionary or just interested in becoming one, we've got some great news. EWTN Media Missionaries has a new and improved website. EWTNmissionaries.com, designed with you in mind. Our new site is loaded with great features and it's easy to navigate. There are so many different ways that you can help EWTN. Join us in sharing the eternal word with the world. Visit EWTNmissionaries.com today.
Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and you. Thank you for joining us. Great to have you listening, and we've got a pretty full phone bank already. So we're going to get to your calls, 1-800-585-9396. Stress-related illness. How does just the pressure of life, the pressures of getting through life, paying the bills, raising the kids, getting to and from work, not getting fired, doing the job right, making sure you can navigate sometimes the landmines of everyday life can bring stress into our lives, and that can have a lot of physical ramifications. I think Debbie put it best. We're not coming at this from a quote-unquote medical standpoint per se, because we're not doctors and so forth, but we just want to have a conversation about how maybe you in your life, you have sensed that just being under a lot of stress has caused other issues in your life, and love to hear from those of you who have discovered that, made the right changes, and now things are going better. So we will start with Mary in Windsor, Colorado, listening to EWTN Radio on Denver Catholic Radio. Hi, Mary. You're first today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, I just wanted to encourage people not to give up. I've had a lot of stressful things in my life, and definitely it did affect my health to the point where when I was 44, I had to quit work, and I ended up going through a divorce. And I had decades of abuse by a priest and a parent, and then a 25-year abusive marriage and a stressful situation at work, and then trying to help keep some grandchildren safe from sexual abuse in their life. And it just really took its toll. And about 16 years ago, I had to, quit work. I ended up with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue so badly and I haven't been able to work since. And there was a time I tried. I did unfortunately try to give up because I was at the bottom. But what got me through all those years, I want to say, is calling on God. I would go to church every Sunday and pray for His help to get me through the next week, and that is absolutely what did it, because every day was horrendous with that abuse, and I also had a flesh-eating illness that I wasn't expected to survive when I was pregnant with my third child. So I've had a lot of stress, but it's definitely, encourage people to call on God. The Blessed Virgin, the saints. I have my favorite saints, and they've always been there for me, particularly Saint Teresa of Lisieux. We had very miraculous things happen through her, and I just, wanted to say, don't give up. I took some pills one time and instantly knew when I woke up that was the wrong thing to do, and I'm very grateful. And so other tools I've used when I'm struggling, besides the prayer, is to make myself smile. If people have probably heard this before, but and try and think of things to be grateful for. There's no matter how bad things are, there's always so many blessings in our lives to be grateful for. So,
well, Mary, I'll start here with
not to give up.
Yeah. Sorry about that, Mary. I'll just start with a couple comments. Debbie and I are both nodding our heads as though we're sympathetic, obviously. And I just want to say, you didn't mention the nature of any of the different abuses that you suffered, and we don't want to know that. But I just want to say you're a very strong person, because as I've been in ministry, and Debbie, maybe you too, I've learned that those who suffer things like abuse, whether it's physical, emotional abuse, sexual abuse at the hands of another, that becomes, the person can take ownership of that and say, I'm guilty, and carry the shame of that, even though something horrific was done to a person. There is no guilt on the part of the person, the victim, and yet for some reason our human psyche turns that around as though we have done something wrong. And so the stress from that, Mary, no doubt, unless I'm totally mistaken about that, but it sounds like that may have helped to build up and lead to some of the things, the difficulties that you've had. So I just wanted to share that, and Debbie, some thoughts, but it's just amazing, Mary. Your resiliency, I think, speaks volumes of the person that you are.
Jerry said it best, Mary, and I would agree with every single thing he said. He said it so beautifully. Mary, you have the Blessed Mother's name, and you leaned on the Blessed Mother. That is beautiful. You have the communion of saints, the saints around you. Saint Therese of Lisieux, I have a strong devotion to her as well. And I agree. I think you're a very strong woman, and I'm sorry that you now have some of the physical ramifications of what happened to all of the stresses that you've lived through. But I'm not sorry in the sense that you are a living testament of how we should all be grateful for the blessings we have in this world, and how, you can be an example to all of us, which you just did right now on this show that is going globally. I mean, you're going all over the world, Mary, so you're touching people with your life experience. And so I'm grateful to God that you called today. I'm grateful to God that you can impart to us what you have been through, and to give us the hope and the understanding of how to really stay centered through it. I do want to say, though, that I do strongly believe in Matthew 19:26. Beyond belief do I believe in it. With God, all things are possible. And I do believe that through prayer, things can change if God wills them. And so my prayer for you, Mary, is, and I hope all of our listeners join with me in this prayer, is that you do have you are restored to full physical health. And I'm going to pray for that. And why do I say that? Because with God, all things are possible. So I'm going to ask God. And so I wanted you to know that I'm going to be praying for that, because I want you to be restored completely physically. And you have a beautiful spirit, and it comes through loud and clear. Did you want to share anything else with our listeners?
I do, real quick. And yes, it was, and I had every type of abuse there is: physical, sexual, emotional, verbal, and financial. But and it does, and truly, what you just said, Jerry, about how what it does to you with the bad self-talk, and it's somehow your fault. Of course, the biggest thing, and unfortunately started out with abuse by the priest at age 9, but and you struggle with that, and I turned 59 on Mother's Day, and you still struggle with that. It never goes away. But and then a Bible verse that really got me through, I repeated it thousands of times, I think, in the hospital with recovering from the flesh-eating disease back in 1981, was be of good courage, and he shall strengthen your heart. And that I just repeated that over and over. but there are so many beautiful things in life, so they're there, and I would have missed out on a lot if those pills had taken me away. And don't ever do that. You know right away that it's the wrong thing to do.
All good stuff, Mary. Thank you so much. You have blessed us and our listeners. And will you keep listening? And will you keep us Take Two show with me and Debbie and our listeners in your prayers, if you'd be so kind?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you, Mary. Yeah, 1-800-585-9396. Just real quickly, when we think that we've had it bad, sometimes we get reminded that some people have been through maybe a lot more than we have.
Right, and that's what I meant by being grateful to God that we could experience Mary's life, and that is beautiful that she shares it with such a joy-filled spirit and gratitude. It's absolutely beautiful. Mary, you're a strong woman. We just love, you definitely blessed our day today. 1-800-585-9396. That's the number to dial if you want to get in on this conversation that we're having about stress-related illnesses. And we're going to move right along to James in Fairhope, Alabama, listening on Archangel Radio, listening to EWTN Radio. Hi, James. Welcome to Take Two.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you all being there, and I appreciate you taking up this topic. And I can say without a doubt that calling in definitely gives me stress. So,
please, James.
Has any doubt?
No, well,
said that. That's all right.
Whatever we can do to alleviate
that. In my life.
Okay.
Anyhow, but seriously, and I'm 69. When I was in my mid-40s, the stress was catching up with me, and I sat at my desk one day and I said, Jim, if you don't do something about this, you're going to die of a heart attack, and because I could feel my heart speeding up on me. And so I did do something about it with the grace of God, and I can only share with you that stress for me became a euphemism that for fear, that really there's no such thing as stress in my life. There's only anxiety. And I also found in my journey that that the solution to that was faith, because faith and fear, as we know, as John has shared in one of his letters, St. John shared in one of his letters, they can't coexist. We can't have faith and fear at the same time. And so I found that with by surrendering my life to, and I'm Baptist, by the way, I'm not Catholic. I have tremendous respect for y'all. I think it's wonderful what you do, and you certainly have the fullness of faith, but personally, I just happen to be a Protestant. So, but the bottom line was that just as St. Paul shared with us, that the peace beyond understanding, that's where I found the solution to the stress in my life, or the fear, actually is what it is. And I can only say that with the progress with the grace of God and with the transformation that comes with faith, I'm living my life happy, joyous, and free, and I'm just amazingly healthy, and I cannot thank everybody enough for being there so I can share this with you. Thank you very much.
Well, James, that is fantastic. And dear brother in Christ, thank you for joining us, listening to Archangel Radio. I'm sure they're blessed to have you as a listener, as we are on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. And to have you call into the program, and you really circle us back, James, to some of the things that we mentioned at the start of the show. That is how Jesus talks about in the Bible, do not be anxious, be not afraid, trust in God. With God, all things are possible. And yet somehow, because of, I suppose, the fall, original sin, Debbie, we sort of foul all that up, and we our minds tend to want to say, with God, all things are possible except what I'm going through right now.
Right.
And we have to realize this is, I think, part of what it means to become childlike. When a child looks to his father, or his mother for that matter, they see someone who can walk on water,
right,
can do no wrong. There's nothing my daddy can't do because he's my daddy. That's what Jesus wants us to become like, is to be able to look at God the Father with this trust and never even thinking that there's anything he can't do for us.
That's right.
But what an inspiring testimony also from James.
Absolutely. James, I hope you call again and again and again, and I hope it was a pleasurable experience. I hope we didn't raise your heart rate at all. I hope it was great. And because you share such great words of wisdom, I love the way you reference scripture, and I think that it brings such a richness to the conversation. And James, you reminded me of a class I used to do with the teens, and it was very interesting. I used to have this in the old-fashioned, kind of the whiteboard type thing. They don't even have those anymore. They have all these electronic gadgets now that you can do through your laptop. But I used to have the old-fashioned whiteboard with markers, and I would draw a line down the center, and we would talk about things that are of God and not of God. So we would title it "Of God and Not of God." And the teens were so great. They would throw things in that left-hand column that are of God, like hope and love and faith and all the things that you were mentioning, James. And then on the right-hand side of the column, which is not of God. So and we know this. If it's not of God, it's of Satan, because if it's not of God, it's only one or the other. And the kids would put in fear, anxiety, despair, all these things, James, that you were talking about. And it was just fascinating because the kids got it, the teens got it. And we would leave them with this idea: if it's not of God, why would you choose it? Why would you walk yourself into that path? Why would you allow it to happen to you? Because it does happen to all of us very easily. And I think, James, Scripture is a strong reminder for us to stay in that column of what is of God, and that is hope and faith and love and all the great, wonderful things that can get us closer to the heart of God. James, thank you so much for that call. That was very, very inspiring. I agree with Jerry.
Yeah, James, thank you very much. We are coming up on the time of a little quick pause here. I'm just looking ahead here to Terry. We have you coming up. We've got Beth and Karen and Sheila. And just want to, as always, we encourage those of you who are on hold to be patient. We try and get to each and every one of your calls, and it looks like we will get to everyone who's on right now. But Debbie, it's taking a little bit. Sometimes we give a little bit more time to calls on certain shows with certain topics because of I think the nature of the topic today. People have some a little bit heavier stuff that they're sharing, and we want to give them that opportunity. So we just want to encourage those who are on the line to be patient, because we do want to get to every one of them.
We do. And real quick, are we ready for this quick, immovable, what do you want to call it, break?
Yeah, let's call it that.
Okay. I just want to say one other thing. James, if you're still listening, would you mind emailing us at take2, the number 2 at EWTN.com, take2, the number 2 at EWTN.com. You said something about you being a Baptist, and you talked about that you respect the Catholic of the fullness of faith. I just want to ask you a couple questions, which I find just very interesting of what you said. It's very wonderful, absolutely. But if you could email us, I would love to have your email contact, James. Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to take that pause.
Did you give the email address?
Take2, the number 2 at EWTN.com.
Okay.
I did. We'll be right back.
You're stressing me out.
Thank you for listening to EWTN Radio.
From EWTN News Nightly in Washington, D.C., I'm Brian Patrick with your EWTN Newslink. At least 69 people are dead from bombing attacks in Baghdad today. ISIS terrorists claim responsibility for the largest attack, a car bomb exploding in a crowded market. Campaign security tensions in Nevada overshadow presidential primaries today in Oregon and Kentucky. Bernie Sanders supporters are accused of throwing chairs and making death threats against Nevada's Democratic Party chairwoman. Speaker of the House Paul Ryan calls on the administration to eliminate the burden once and for all on the Little Sisters of the Poor. At today's National Catholic Prayer Breakfast, Ryan says Monday's Supreme Court decision was good news. And Guinea's Cardinal Robert Sarah spoke boldly against gender ideology and the redefinition of marriage at the prayer breakfast. He says what happens in the U.S. has repercussions everywhere. I'm Brian Patrick with your Newslink. Join us tonight for EWTN News Nightly.
Raymond Arroyo with Mother Angelica, A Remarkable Life. Shortly after entering religious life here at Cleveland's St. Paul Shrine, Sister Angelica was beset by health woes. She had tonsillitis, constant colds. At one point, her knees began to swell because of all the kneeling and climbing up the 5 stories of this monastery. On at least 2 occasions, she was almost thrown out of the monastery. And then she was transferred to Canton, Ohio, her hometown. There, the swelling in her knees subsided, and she continued with religious life. Stay with EWTN as we continue to celebrate the life and legacy of Mother Mary Angelica.
Great to have you here. Take 2 with Jerry and Debbie. 1-800-585-9396. We're talking about stress-related illness, being stressed. Which is not really a physical thing, can lead to physical ailments and little aches and pains and things that we don't really maybe know what the cause of them are. We want to try and talk this through, and hopefully we come out the other end of this program today realizing that God is in control. If we trust Him, surrender to Him, this can be at least rolled back a little bit in our lives. Just want to mention real quick, today is a huge, huge day for Raymond Arroyo and EWTN. Today is the release date of Raymond's book, Mother Angelica, Her Grand Silence, The Last Years in Living Legacy. And maybe nobody knew Mother Angelica better than Raymond Arroyo, and he has written other books on her. And today his book is released about her last years, her grand silence, when she was not in front of a camera, really bedridden for most of those years, and how much good she did for the network and the world. So look forward, I'm sure, in the EWTN religious catalog or at your Catholic bookstore, wherever you find great books, because Debbie, I know this is going to really inspire a lot of people.
I simply can't wait to read the book. I've heard of a few excerpts from it, and it's riveting. It's amazing. I can't wait to read it because I've always been curious those years of the silence part that we publicly, Mother was not present to us, and I just am fascinated by it. I think it's just going to be just one of those great, great books that we should all have.
All right, back to your phone calls here. Beth, thank you for holding so patiently in Lafayette, Louisiana, listening to EWTN Radio on Christ Our King Radio. Hello, welcome to the program. How are you?
Hi, Beth.
Hello, Beth.
Hi. How are you guys?
Well, better now that you've called.
Much. This subject is just so needed, I feel. I'm not a great speaker, so y'all bear with me. I had I found out about an infidelity of my husband, and just 5 months after that, we lost our son.
Oh.
And so it was really difficult. The first year, I felt like I wanted to just sleep in church, to be honest. And then the stress of it all just got to me so bad that my health was just horrible. I lost tons and tons of weight. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. Kidney problems, all sorts of things that I just was back and forth with the doctor, like, what's wrong? Of course, it was just the depression and the anxiety of it all. Mm-hmm. But then, I was hard on myself, thinking I was too weak. Why was I so weak that I couldn't handle, that I should just give it to God and let Him just take over, but you just feel like you can't. Mm. But then I realized, too, that when you need help, you need to get help. And that's what I want people to know, too, is that don't feel like if it's a physical thing, that's why we have our doctors and our counselors and our psychiatrists and all that you can get the help. And then with that help, we'll help you to be stronger, to pray and to have your faith and to know that no matter what, you can get through it. And it's still difficult. It's difficult every day, but I just know that I strive for my salvation, for my family's salvation, to pray for them and to pray for myself, and that one day that we will be back with our son.
Right. Beth, Beth, do we have your son added to our prayer book?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Would you
No, ma'am.
impart his first name, so we could add him?
Is Garen, Garen.
Garen. Oh, beautiful.
Garen.
Yeah. How old was Garen when he entered
26.
eternity? 26. Wow.
Yes,
young.
ma'am. Yeah.
And so, Beth, where are you where are you today? Where are you right now today? Where are you with the stresses?
Today, this year's been really difficult for me. I don't know, I don't know why it's been such a bad. This year's just been really hard for me, but I still persevere with my prayer, and I feel the rosary is my go-to. That because Mary, who saw her son suffer so badly, and my son didn't suffer, but it's just my go-to, and I have to do it in order for me to, in prayer and church and adoration, all that. I think without it, I don't know where I would be, and I don't know how anybody can get through such trauma without it, without God.
Right, exactly. You right on.
Yeah.
And there was no coincidence that you brought up the rosary, because I was waiting for the perfect time to bring it up. When you said the rosary is your go-to, the rosary should be our go-to for all of us, because the rosary, exactly for the reasons that you mentioned, what Mary had to live through, we can all identify with in a minor way with what we're dealing with on earth. And so she is our example. She is our light. She is the one we should run to. She points us to her son. She gets us closer to her son. They are united in a very intimate way. And so you're absolutely right on about it. And here's the thing. This is what I have learned through what I have lived through, Beth, is that when stress happens and it keeps happening in our lives and it surrounds us, and it's sometimes we don't know where to turn, you're so perfectly right on when you said about going to counselors, because counselors can give us the tools. We need tools to move on. If I could live on a counselor's couch, I would. They won't let me because it's too expensive. But anyway, I would, because seriously, it is the tools to be able to move ourselves forward. That's huge. And going and sitting at adoration, where we can be filled with God, where we can listen to God, where God can embrace us and just let us just be when we're feeling so tired. The rosary, with that super powerful prayer of the rosary, where it totally abolishes any type of demons. It combats all the spiritual stuff that is happening in this world. It's powerful. It is not a weakness, and I believe in my heart of hearts, Beth, and it sounds like you can totally relate to this, that when we are given all these stresses, I think God says it's a wake-up call for us to say, come to me. I will refresh you. I will give you peace. I will give you rest. Come to me. And it's God calling us. And it's in our answer that things we can start to find joy again. Do you resonate with that? Because that's how I get through life.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I wake up every morning. I have to, say exactly what I'm grateful for, because I do have so many. I have a daughter with 2 beautiful little grandbabies, and sometimes it was bittersweet. I can't lie, but just not having my son around, because they were so close, and it just would have been beautiful. But I also know that I'm just so thankful to have them in my life, because I don't know where I would really be otherwise without them also. It's a two-way thing for me. You have God's first, of course, but just that's my other reason to go on. And I wanted to say one more thing too, was that when a priest, when I was in the beginning and I spoke with him and saying, I just feel like I just cry. He said, and I always remember this, and he says, just remember, Jesus wept, and that sticks with me. When I get emotional and I say, it's okay, cry, let it out, because even Jesus wept.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Beth, beautiful phone call. And on that note, we will let you go. We got a lot of other people to get to. Have a blessed day. I'm just reminded, Beth and Debbie, from the conversation you two were having there. I'm just very moved by it. And the Hail Holy Queen prayer, speaking of Our Lady, comes to my mind, where it talks about, to thee, Mary, do we cry, poor banished children of Eve. To thee do we send up our sighs, mourning and weeping in this valley of tears. It's inevitable. There is going to be suffering in this life. It's the only doorway to heaven. Jesus makes it clear to pick up our cross daily and to follow him. Now, every one of us is going to have a unique cross. And Beth, you've had a heavy one. There's no question about that. But you are strong, like all of our other callers today. And so as we all journey together through this valley of tears, and we mourn and we weep and we send up our sighs to our Blessed Mother, who she takes directly to Jesus, let us find comfort in that thought that we have such help from above and we don't have to do this alone.
That's
so
right. Right.
Beth, thank you so much. And all of you on hold, God bless you for your patience. We appreciate it. We're going to get to more of your calls right now.
And prayer warriors here on earth for Garen, her son, and her family. So we're all connected in this, Beth, and that's what's beautiful about it. And the sooner we learn that we're all connected, the more we can help one another.
Okay, we're going to get to Sheila next, but Susan looks like she got in there right before Sheila. So Sheila, hang on.
Yes, Sheila, please hang on.
You'll be right after Susan in Buffalo listening to EWTN Radio on the Station of the Cross. Susan, you're on take 2 with Jerry and Debbie. Welcome.
Oh, thank you very much. And how are you today?
We're doing well, Susan. Thank you so much.
Good, yeah. So I was just reflecting on what you said about how things pile up and make you basically, want to be a slug, In 2004, I was hit by a car. That's when it really started. I was 39. I was a registered nurse. I was crossing the street, and I had just got done. I had taught religion to the kids. I had given out communion at Mass, and I was coming home from that with my bag and thinking to myself, I've been working a little bit more. We're doing okay. Maybe we can move to a better area, get a better school system for the kids. And this woman struck me. And, you just think about, it's amazing how many things you can think in 15 seconds,
Mm-hmm. Sure.
When something like that happens, And then it just piled up, I couldn't work. And I'm normally ADHD, okay? And I had 9 herniated discs. So I had to make myself become not so active because I would hurt myself worse by doing the things. Because it was me who did the things around the house. My husband, he liked watching TV and having a couple of beers and watching. And he worked his 40 hours. He felt he did his thing, and he came home and did nothing. And it was me who did the washing, and I did the work outside and, everything. I'd fix things that needed to be fixed. And now it's completely turned around. Although he doesn't do it as good as I do, I'll admit that. But he does what needs to be done.
Right, right.
And then he lost his job. They moved to Mexico. So neither one of us were working. So I was a registered nurse. So it was easier for me to find a job at that time. And ultimately, I ended up getting hurt again. And I haven't worked since 2008. Okay? Yeah. And then my brother died of an overdose of many street drugs. He had an enlarged heart because of what he was doing. And then he found out about that. And then he became unknown to us. And then we got a call about a month and a half later. He had been dead for 10 days before they called us.
Oh.
And we were all very upset about, why do they treat people like this? Don't they realize even these, because he was considered a street person, don't they know they have families who love them? It was very disrespectful, we thought. But then my mother-in-law died also in 2004 on my husband's birthday.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Susan,
Mom.
Yeah, Susan, do we have your brother and your mother-in-law on our prayer list? I just want to make sure we get them on, their first names.
No, you don't. Mary Chavis.
Mary is your mother-in-law, and then your brother?
Yeah.
Your first name?
John.
John, okay. Susan, let me just, fast forward to today. How are you dealing with the stresses that you have dealt with in the history?
That, my son, my oldest son, he's 23 now, 4 years ago when he was 19, he was downloading 14 to 17-year-old pornography.
Oh.
And then they send you stuff. Apparently, he said they just sent me this 10-year-old girl, and he downloaded it. And that's when the police popped in. And it was 3 days, literally 3 days, he was going to join the Marines. We were getting ready. And 3 days before he joined the Marines. And it was 5 days before my other son's birthday.
Wow.
So they busted it. They didn't arrest him because he was being, he actually admitted to it. He was being very helpful to them. He didn't hurt anybody. We had to we have 2 boys and then 3 girls, and the 3 girls were, young. So we had to take them to some place to be checked out to make sure that he had never touched them.
Right. Susan, but let me just ask you this question, though. So it sounds like you're a very, very prayerful person. I mean, you must commit a lot of this to prayer and at the foot of the cross because you're dealing and have dealt with a lot. Is there can you impart to, you have just a plethora of stressors around you and stress that you've lived through. Can you impart just real quickly, just for our listeners, is there a certain prayer regimen that you adhere to? Is there something you can impart to us that we could learn from?
Read the Shepherds of Christ Associates.
Say one more time. Shepherds
of Christ Associates.
I've never heard of it. Okay, Shepherds. Oh, we're gonna mark that down.
In Florida, how Mary appeared on the glass on the bank.
Okay,
you remember that years ago?
No,
I
don't.
And then somebody threw a stone and broke Mary's face. Well, my sister came over and they used little pieces of glass and they made pictures. They made small statues of Mary and Jesus and put little pieces of the glass from that bank in there. And my sister came over and gave that to us, and she gave us a few of these pamphlets from the Shepherds of Christ Associates. So that's what I read. It gives us a Holy Spirit prayer first. Then we're supposed to say the Rosary.
Okay, so the Rosary again. Okay. All right. So, yes, Susan, this is really good that you said that. I'm glad you said that. That was really where I have to tell you, I did have a bit of an agenda for this conversation. Normally, I just see where the conversation goes. But after all of my life experiences and what I have read about, the Rosary is the weapon, the tool, the weapon of choice for stressful situations. And Susan, you confirmed that. I appreciate that. Know that prayers are around you for your family, for the repose of your soul, of your brother and your mother-in-law, and thank you for that call. We appreciate it. We're going to move right along to Sheila, because Sheila, you, out of everybody for the whole year we have been broadcasting, Sheila, you're the longest you have waited. You've got the Ultimate Patience Award. You're going to get it now and for eternity, I presume. Hi, Sheila.
Praise God. Hi, how are you today?
Doing well. Thank you so much for waiting.
Good. Thank you for the show. I'm actually calling out of Winchester, Virginia. I want to tell you just briefly how I became Catholic and how I went back to my faith. My first husband was Catholic. His family was, and we have a daughter together. And he was actually killed when our daughter was 2. So from there, I just kind of got away from Christ, got away from everything. And actually, I have 3 children. My oldest son was in the seminary at Franciscan University, great college. He was there for 4.5 years. And he didn't become a priest. He right now is a Capitol Police officer in Washington, D.C., and I'm very proud of all my children. But when he was about 15, he met a girl. She was Catholic. So he's the reason I went back to church. I'm very grateful. There's been many things in my life that I wonder sometimes,
That's
I wonder
okay.
sometimes how people can even get through their day without calling on Christ. I don't understand how they can do it. And our country is in such bad shape. I just wish and pray for everyone that they will pray for our country. I go to St. Leo in Inwood, and I haven't been able to go for about 6 months. I have a car. It's wrecked, and I don't have the money to fix it. But I have this program to listen to. And I've thanked my son many times for going to the Catholic Church, and we have great priests, just a wonderful, wonderful priest. And I don't have a job right now, and I'm raising a grandson. He is 18 now. I have 7 grandchildren, but he's my oldest, and I've had him since he was young. And I'm very, very grateful for him. But mainly, I do get through my days and my troubled time with the rosary. And I just cry out to Mary. So that's what
Well, Sheila, Sheila, we mentioned how just the inner strength of many of the people who have called the program today, and many of you who don't have a chance to call. We know how strong people can be, especially in difficult times. And what struck me, Sheila, about what you said is you talked about the direction the world is going, and we can hear the concern that you have for souls, really, for those close to you, your loved ones, your family members, but beyond that. And Sheila, I just want to say that is a tremendous gift from God. When a person looks at the state of the culture and the world, and that pains a person, Debbie, I really believe that shows a thirst for souls. Mm-hmm. Jesus said from the cross, I thirst. And what did he mean? He meant, I thirst for souls, that every soul. He had this pain. He went through, of course, his crucifixion for all souls. But Sheila, I would encourage Sheila to just make an offering of whatever difficulty she's going through for the world that she obviously has such a great burden for.
I couldn't agree more, Sheila. You definitely have that prayerful spirit. I would definitely encourage that. And something that you said, Sheila, I just want to let you know that I will personally commit to prayer for you for a car and a job. But something that came to me is the Memorare. It's one of my favorite prayers, and while you were speaking, it just came strongly. I don't know if you've incorporated the Memorare when you're praying the Rosary, but I would encourage you to do so. You can just look it up, the Memorare. It's an absolutely beautiful prayer to the Blessed Mother, and just asking her, and she never flees from us. She never leaves us, never leaves us hanging out there. She's there for us. She's our spiritual mother, and so I really would encourage you to do that. Sheila, thank you so much. Thank you so much for waiting as long as you did to get on the show, and for sharing your beautiful emotions. Never apologize for sharing emotions. I love emotions. I'm Italian, for goodness sake. So Sheila, thank you. God bless you.
Thank
Keep
you,
calling.
Sheila. All right, we're in the home stretch here, the final few minutes, so we will get to Mary in Ithaca, New York, listening to EWTN Radio on the Station of the Cross. Hello, Mary. We got a couple of minutes here, but we wanted to get you on the program. How are you?
I'll try to hurry. I wanted to share, when I was young, I had 2 older sisters. Both our parents died, and they weren't old enough to be guardian. So some relatives wanted to adopt me, another my sister, but my aunt, who lived around the corner, came, and she had 10 children and took the 3 of us, so we wouldn't be separated. And we had a house full of kids, all right, but we always had a roof over our head. We always had some food on the table, and never latchkey kids. Now, I'm in my 80s now, and when I look back at all the things that happened, I know that God brings good from all things, even some that you might think is not good. He'll bring good from it. But, I look back, who took care of me all my life? It wasn't the Cornell my husband works, but it was God our Father. And I know when we worry, we insult him as if he's not going to take care of us. Now, my children say we're getting old, we're in our house, we're 80 years old. Mom, what's going to happen if something happens to Dad? What if something... I said, listen, dear, the same God who's taking care of me today will take care of us tomorrow. I said, you got to trust totally in the good Lord, or you're insulting him that he's not going to take care of us. He's our Father.
Mary, you have put, as I like to say, a nice little bow and ribbon on this broadcast. And Susan in Georgia with Blaze Radio, apologies to you and the other callers. I wish we had more time. Maybe at our 10th anniversary, we'll have a 2-hour show, Debbie. But Mary, you put a real beautiful punctuation mark on today's program. And Debbie, this is it really brings it back around to what you were conveying at the start of the show.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Mary, you are amazing. You are so inspiring. I wish I could just pack you up and bring you in my luggage everywhere I go, just to hear you say that. And you're right. You looked back on your life. You've seen how your life has unfolded, and you're 80 years young, and that is beautiful. And your spirit is just, oh my goodness, you are just a role model for all of us, Mary. Well, of course, you have Mary's name. See, look at that. See, there you go again. Mary, way to go. You're blessed, and you blessed us today. Thank you for that.
Don't forget, all of you like us on Facebook. EWTN Catholic Radio is the page we ask you to like, and we ask for your takes on there before every program. And Cheryl shared this, which I think you're going to appreciate because it really strikes at the heart of your opening theme and message of the program. Cheryl said, when one is stuck in a seemingly perpetual rut, no matter how much they try to better themselves, it makes me ponder this question. How much of this is because God thinks you need to go through it to grow in your spiritual life, and how much of it is due to the Dark One who is pulling out all the stops to keep you in his clutches and out of God's loving embrace? So that really touches upon what Mary was saying.
It does. I mean, thank you, Cheryl, for sharing that. You really hit it home with that. And let's all take note of what Mary from Ithaca, New York said. She's a wise woman who has lived it. We have to have confidence in God. Confidence. We don't want to insult God. We want to have confidence in Him. Wow, what a great show. You guys are awesome. Take Two listeners, you rock. You are family. Thank you. And thank you for your prayers for everyone that called today. Please make sure you include everybody's prayer intentions in your daily prayers.
And tomorrow, another new episode of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We're going to talk about the debate over people's rights. And I think you know what we're talking about. Everybody wants a right, even though it can be a right to do something really weird or even immoral. So we're going to ask for your takes on that topic tomorrow, so be with us.